Jim, you open your book with being fired from your job. Yeah.
Cold open, it's called, and it was a cold moment. Actually, I have to admit, it wasn't my original idea. A friend of mine, a pretty famous producer, really good with storytelling, knew I was a trailer maker for a long time, said, boy, you should start your book like you would a trailer, with a cold open, kind of, grab the audience by the collar and shake them up a little bit before you really start telling your story. So that's, and certainly when you get fired from a job, it's quite a moment in your life. It really plays with your confidence, your ego, and it was at that point in my career where I'd basically ended my career as a film marketing executive in the studio side. I did go on to teach for 15 years after that and do other things, but I thought it might be just fun to start at the end of this journey that I've had in film marketing and working for Warner's and Castle Rock and starting as a trailer editor. And I just thought, now we'll go back in time after I get whacked. So, yeah.
Well, there's also sort of a phoenix rising from the ashes experience, hopefully most people have after they've been fired. Not that I would know anything about that, but that you can get back on your feet and sort of reclaim your life.
Absolutely, yeah. This came at the end of a very stressful 35-year period of making movie campaigns. I started as an editor, so I was on one side of the desk for about 10 years and learned the process of that, and then was hired by Castle Rock to be the head of marketing there, and then after that, Warner Brothers, and then Sony. And that's where I've only been fired once, I will say that, and it was by Sony. But it was at the end of a period where I was done. I was pretty burned out, which is kind of a cliche word, but it accurately describes it. I had been through a lot of films. I was not happy in my job at all. It was a real blessing, to be honest. You don't know that when it's happening. Your world is rocked. My daughter went to her high school graduation that night, so it was like,
oh, wow.
It was rough to kind of put on a poker face that night with my family. But the good news is, my wife, who's prominent in my book for her incredible support, was there as always, and we transitioned out of that heartache and embarrassment into a company where I started making my own trailers, and my wife Mary did the book work. It was just the two of us. So and we did that very successfully for 5 years before I was hired by Chapman University to teach. And I've been doing that for 15 years.
Just curious, did you tell them you had been fired when you went to the graduation, or no, you waited till afterward?
Waited.
Yeah, oh gosh.
Had to wait, yeah.
Oh.
And you just have to gather yourself
Right.
and put on a straight face. And again, when you're unhappy, getting fired was humiliating, that's the word. But I was pretty miserable before I got fired.
Sure. Oh, yeah. I've had the experience.
And I don't know if you want this on camera or not,
okay.
but I didn't even know why I got fired.
Well, yeah, they don't have to tell you, I know. It's
Yeah,
at
they
will.
should, shouldn't they? I mean, I do not know the reason to this day why I got fired.
What kind of pressures does one face being an executive in Hollywood?
Yeah, well, marketing is a very specific kind of stress. It's at the end of the filmmaking process. You're basically given a film, and I always kind of envision me as the head of creative in particular, sitting on a fence, and on one side of the fence is the filmmakers, the producers, the directors, the actors, their agents, the people who made this. I hate calling movies products, but I'm going to call it a product for now. They made this thing. They think it's great. They put a ton of effort, passion, love, and time, and probably money into it. And there it is. On the other side of the fence, as I sit between the two factions here, I have my bosses, the heads of the studio. If I have a boss who's head of marketing, distribution, my team, there they sit, and they pay me. They're paying me for this. And it's their job to monetize this product. It sounds crass, but that is the truth. They're to just market it, distribute it, get it out there, and it's a business. It's show business. So here I am kind of in this very precarious place where I need to make both these sides happy. But ultimately, I must listen to my bosses, my managers. And that's why my book's called Opening Weekend, for that matter. It's really about the opening weekend, getting, the movie in theaters, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, making as much money as you can, and launching the film on its way, where word of mouth and reviews and other things kind of take the baton and go into the marketplace and hopefully becomes profitable, which is good for everybody. But these two factions on either side of this fence usually don't agree on how to do that. And that's where I come in. When you're in marketing, you really need the filmmakers to be happy. You don't want, for lots of reasons. One of the reasons is they're probably not going to want to work hard for the film, hard as that is to believe, if they don't agree with how you're selling it to the public. And even though it's written into their contracts, they need to publicize the movie, they need to support it in any way, and it behooves them to. You really want them to believe that this message that you're sending out to the public, they agree with, they support. They can get out there in the press and really, argue for you, argue for their film. And then again, on the other side, in the studio side, there's research. You're testing the materials. They may not like how it tests with consumers. So there's lots of crossfire, and me sitting on that fence, getting hit by dirt clods on either side of the face. That adds a lot of stress. And then, of course, these films are very expensive. I've worked on plenty of movies that cost well over $100 million. Working on the Harry Potter franchise may sound easy, but it wasn't. The amount of pressure we had on us at Warner Brothers to kind of establish this franchise, which it became. But if Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone is not a hit, there is no franchise, no matter how well the books are selling. So the pressure comes from various places. I always found the most pressure was sitting on this fence between management and the filmmaking team and trying to find compromise that still worked, that still was the best I could do, because I needed to feel good about this too. I didn't want to send something into the public, a trailer, a poster, a commercial, a digital billboard, whatever creative element that we created. I needed to believe in it. I really wanted to believe in it. But again, it's not a auteur business. It's very much a team sport. And that's where I found the most stress.
Did you find yourself at times playing peacemaker or therapist in some way because your one side is angry with the other?
Yeah, at the end of the day, one of the great tools of peacemaking is research, because it's the one thing these two factions can't argue with. So you send out, as an example, a trailer, and it's tested amongst, say, 1,000 people. And they come back with their report card for your work. And let's just, it can be very complicated. Some audiences like it, others don't, which helps establish who the movie target is going to be, what demographic is most likely going to go see your film. So you learn a lot of information from this research, but ultimately you find out if your work is good or bad. And when you take that information and show both sides, to management, to the filmmakers, I find that was the great, if it tested well, all of a sudden everybody was Okay, great, go with it. And there was agreement. There was peace in the kingdom. And I wasn't being shot with arrows and things. So, you know, but again, like most things in Hollywood, it's a double-edged sword. Yeah, you send out a trailer, but the research process, and we may end up talking about this later, because one of the great complaints about trailers is what? They showed me too much. You told me too much, you know. And consequently, the irony of that is when a trailer goes out into a research situation, what we most often hear if they don't like it is, you didn't tell me enough. So that's why trailers are long. That's why trailers tend to tell you too much. It's mainly due to research. And again, we're just trying to please the consumer, answer their issues with it, and then we come back and we show our management team and the filmmakers, and that's how research works with trailers. Very general view.
Sure, and it seemed like, and I'm dating myself here, but we used to have a narrator for most trailers, and that also told you, a lot.
Yeah, narration has gone the way of the dodo bird, really, in trailer land. Most studios, consumers, and certainly trailer makers don't use narrators anymore. There are exceptions. A lot of family films, when you have young children who haven't learned to read yet, so having a title card come on the screen that they don't know what it means, that's one reason to use a narrator. Another is I turn my back, I go off to the refrigerator, I need to hear what's going on the TV since my focus is not fully visually on the message that's being transmitted to me. So narration is, and my students at Chapman, we watch a lot of trailers in class. Certainly, they cut a lot of trailers. It's a very project-oriented class and school, and they despise it. They despise narration. They don't like someone else telling them what to think, or it's too much. And so consequently, and I'm not a fan either. Certainly later in my editing career, I tried to cut all of my trailers using dialogue to tell the story. Because coming from a character just seemed more organic, more believable, less pushy, because a college kid doesn't like to be told what to do, and they don't like to be sold.
Really?
You know that. Yeah.
It reminds me of the in Say Anything. I don't want to purchase anything that's been, the whole diatribe that he went on, and that's a lot of people at a certain age and also a certain sort of free mindset, and I get it, but I do kind of miss the trailer voiceover.
You miss the narrator?
I don't know why. Maybe it's just nostalgic, but I kind of, in a world.
They're still out there. You'll probably see some in Wicked, maybe.
Okay.
If you watch Saturday morning cartoons, which you probably don't.
I don't.
But there are lots of young children who do, and I guarantee you a lot of those commercials will have a narrator.
Right.
To help get that message across to a younger moviegoer.